Alright, I'm going to go through it and show how you do-it-yourselfers are going to move this valve box, or these valves that were in a valve box, farther out and replace a whole manifold. So I'm going to kind of talk you through the whole thing as I go, and let's go over what you need first. You're going to need wire strippers and wire nuts, and a poly pipe cutter is recommended. These crimpers use these Oderker style crimp clamps. She kind of shows you how they use them on the bag. I recommend those over the kind you tighten with a screwdriver. Probably going to want a rubber mallet and a channel locks to tighten everything down. I'm going to go through and I have all the parts I really need. There are elbows and straight couplers. You're going to need the amount of valves. I'm going to replace those old Toro Float Pro valves with these new Hunter valves, and I'm going to use the same manifold styles, but there are two different manifolds. There are these Dura manifolds, and there are Spears manifolds. The Dura have a very small ring in them, O-ring seal. I don't recommend using the Dura brand. I recommend using the Spears brand with these larger O-rings if you have a choice. They're going to be a lot easier to seal and just all around use and work together. First off, we're going to start and just put our valve manifold together to match the old one. I don't recommend using the old manifolds because they most likely leak. That's what's leaking. That and the valves are both leaking. These are really old Toro valves in this box. Just gonna screw them all together and mirror. You can do that one if you think you can handle it. Pretty straightforward kind of deal. You're just gonna copy the same setup as the old manifolds were set as. They make all different parts, elbows, T's, crosses. Dig everything up first and then get the parts you need, kind of deal. Hopefully I'm trying to get all this on good video. We're trying to get it in frame. Now you don't need to use Teflon tape on these or the valves at all. Actually, anything you put in one of these that has the rubber seal, you're not going to use Teflon tape at all. Screw the nipples in. Or that's a male adapter. Sometimes some of these come with a sharp inside, and I'll just take my cutter to clean it up a little. Hi. Yeah, I'm totally gonna move the valve box out as I get going. Just the valves and the manifolds were leaking as well. Oh, yeah, I got a head cam going. No, it's fine. For the very ambitious do-it-yourselfers. This is definitely, I don't know, pretty much a 4 out of 5 on a difficulty scale. Sure. Then I'll just get the valves in. I'll be able to just mock the fit up like that, and that'll pretty much be where my valves are going to be. I'm going to have to cut this saddle out and put in a new piece of pipe right here. Sorry for the light difference. I know it's a pain, but you know, you got to work with what you got to work with. Alright, well, let's start cutting. I also cut out this edging. I'll show you a neat trick to put back edging on how it was, kind of deal. I'm going to mark this longest one just in the dirt with my finger, and that'll be kind of where I'm cutting across. And I'll be able to cut, because the valves are actually stick out a little bit farther than where the main line is, because these loop in. The main line actually loops in and through and feeds all the valves. The wires I will also get to and show you the trick on how the wires. Now some of this you may need to dig a little bit out by hand. Just go across and cut. Try to keep dirt out of the pipes as you're going across. Plenty of water and mud. And then I'll be able to push them back and up out of the way. Kind of cut this funny pipe or swing pipe as long as you want with the saddle. I know already I can't reuse the white saddle because that will most likely leak. So I'm just gonna plan to replace it instead of doing that at the end and messing with it and being frustrated at the end when it leaks. I'll just preemptively replace that. Okay, we'll get that out of there, and I will line up a new fitting. And an extra piece of pipe. Put 2 clamps on. I recommend double clamping each side because there's enough room. It's just a little extra security, especially if you're not used to using these. You can single clamp it and it most likely will do the trick, but you never know. And this is, you just get this in there and squeeze. And then you want to make sure your clamps don't line up. They alternate. I'll add the blue pipe on. There's really no difference between blue pipe and black pipe, except the blue pipe may have a little bit more flexibility. They sell all this kind of stuff usually at your Home Depot, Menards stores. If you can't find it there, try like Googling irrigation supply warehouse and that kind of deal. Alright, I'm just bring back out my valves and my channel locks pliers, and I'm going to make sure that these valves are tightened down. Not too overly tight, but I want that seal to be stiff so when I'm wiggling them around they won't be cocked and won't leak. Even tighten on these valves. These thick O-rings take a little bit more tightening than the Dura fittings with the thinner O-rings. But the Dura fittings are a lot more, you need to be a lot more gentle. Just gonna grab clamps and put clamps on all the pipes. Two clamps also ensures that if one clamp snaps when you're tightening it, or sometimes they'll won't tighten the right way and crimp off to the side, that ensures you have a second clamp to still clamp and hold the pipe. This swing pipe is very flexible, so you can move it in and out of your way as kind of needed. Basically my plan is to take this and then put one fitting and move from one end to the other. And this is where your mallet's gonna play in. You still want to be gentle, not to hit it too hard and break fittings. And then mark. Open it up and cut. Just want it a little bit shorter. And then you should be able to manipulate that in there and just wiggle and it'll go on. The same way down the line. Might take a little wiggling, might take another tap of the mallet on the back of it. Want to be careful while bending these up so you don't kink the pipe. This pipe, it does have a force where it'll kink, and then you'll have to cut right there and put in another fitting to make sure it's not gonna restrict the flow any. These are still able to turn up, wiggle, maybe give this one a little tap. And this is probably the wrong time to mention that the bigger hole is sometimes better to dig a bigger hole in the first place than to struggle with putting fittings in. Now I'm pretty set where all of these pipes were in, and I'm able to make it work, but if this pipe had come in here, I may need to use elbows or even 2 elbows to manipulate a pipe. Say if a pipe was off kilter here, and I'd have 2 elbows to move the pipe like that. You can go a lot of places with 3 elbows, use as many as you need. And to get that one in there. Not yet, anyways. And these I'm going to fit both at the same time, just because they're so close together. I'm just going to go through, and you want to give a little gap of pipe, just not so you're right over the end like that. This is even better on this one. I'm able to straighten up that valve. And after this step of clamping everything down, making sure the clamp